Hi everybody. I know it's a little bit soon for another life updates video, but I have thoughts. I know everybody's been talking about the virus, the pandemic, and I understand why there are emergency measures. I understand that it's a safety concern. Um, there's a couple of things that I'm personally unhappy about, however. And, forgive me if this sounds selfish, but I work part time in a law firm. I don't interact with clients, I only interact with paperwork. No one at our firm has been sick, and the county has ordered us that we are not allowed to go to work. And, you know, I work part time on just basically minimum, okay? Um, I don't make a lot per month. So, I'm having a baby in July, okay? I can't afford to miss work. And the government hasn't said whether or not they'll be compensating us for missing work. There is a petition in circulation to forgive our rent, okay? But it's just a petition. No word on whether or not the governor is going to actually take any action regarding that. So I figured, well, if I can't work, I can maybe apply for cash aid for me and the baby, which I was going to do anyway. Well, that office is closed, which I understand because there's they come into contact with a lot of people. However, I do feel that necessary services such as police, fire, and hospital are open. I feel that the benefits office is also a necessary service. Okay. The website was acting up on me. I went to register, new username, email, and password. And while I did get the confirmation email, it refused to log me in because it said that my username was not recognized. So they're not registering new usernames. So I clicked on I forgot my username, and they did not send me the email with my username. So I'm not entirely sure that they registered me as a new user. And if they didn't register me as a new user, they're probably not registering other people in California as new users who need to use that site because the benefits office is closed and they're not able to apply for benefits in person. I floated the hypothesis that this might partially be a conspiracy to, kill off the poor people. Like, if you're not allowed to work, you can't afford to miss work, but you also can't apply for benefits, then you can't survive, basically. And I'm in a lot better position than other people that I know. Okay, so I do have things to be grateful for. I'm just really upset about how this is being handled. Because, benefits are a public need. They are. Okay, there's no two ways about that. And, you know, thankfully I do have food. Um, when I used to go traveling with my ex, we did discover some food banks. The food banks have given very generously, and we have kept any canned goods that we think we can use. So we do have plenty of food. Our water is clean, thankfully. Our tap water, we can drink it. I have, books, yarn, audiobooks, TV, internet, games, and stuff to keep busy. But I get a little stir crazy because I'm used to going out and being moderately active. And while it's not a good idea for me to be on my feet too much because of my joint pain, um, I feel like the fact that the option has been taken away from me for reasons unrelated to my pregnancy, it's it's taking some adjusting too. I am also grateful that we did most of our household shopping before the panic really set in. So, we have an average and appropriate amount of toilet paper. We bought like a 6 packer, 12 packer, whatever. We bought like one plastic encased thing of toilet paper. And I won tissues through Safeway Monopoly, so I've got tissues if I need to blow my nose or something. I've always had baby wipes just because, I use them for downstairs hygiene. That's a little TMI, sorry. And it's also kind of a habit from traveling. And like I said, I have yarn. I can crochet washcloths if it comes to it and donate those washcloths. I'm not sure if the food bank is actually going to be open, but they also have a clothing closet, so I was hoping to go there and look for maternity clothes because I'm not paying $40 for a single pair of maternity slacks. That does not sit well with me. So I was hoping to go to the food bank clothing closet or to Ross's at some point this week and get some maternity slacks. Of course, I don't need slacks if I'm not working, so maybe I'll just, I'll just sew myself a dress or something like that. I know how to make a dress. On the one hand, I am grateful that measures are being taken to prevent the vulnerable people in our population from getting sick. But on the other hand, it does kind of feel a little bit like a control tactic as well. Like, I'm mostly salty that I can't work and I can't really afford to miss work without being compensated. And I went a little bit back and forth with one of the paralegals about my payroll, about whether or not I can use up the rest of my sick pay because it's gonna roll over in March. It's March, but it's gonna roll over the 21st because that is the day that I first started working there. Okay, so that's gonna roll over, and I'm gonna lose the it's use it or lose it, right? And I would like to be able to use it. So I went a little bit back and forth with the paralegal because she said she couldn't request it in payroll without without me being contracted for the times that I wasn't there. But my boss had said that she would give me the extra hours if I hadn't missed work. And so I asked the paralegal to double check with our boss. And she I don't think she fully understands where I'm coming from because her financial situation is she has other properties. That's all I need to say there. My financial situation is I live in HUD housing and I pay 1/3 of my income towards rent. And while they will adjust my rent if my income is lower, it takes them 30 days to adjust rent. So I wanted to have all of my benefits and everything squared away within the same, 10-day period so that I could report that all at once to make it easier for the manager and the manager's, I guess, assistant to calculate out the new rent. Also, regarding the petition to waive our rent, I don't fully trust landlords. I'm not sure that they wouldn't go and, demand retroactive payment in the future. So that's where my head is right now. Um, Couple of, positive things though. Like I said, plenty of food. Um, we're actually running very high on canned goods. So, my dad made this really hearty stew that I think I ate a little too quickly. um, like my bowl, my serving of it, too much in one sitting. But it's good. It's filling. It tastes good. It's nutritious, and things. Excuse me. Sorry. It's dusty in here. I'm not sick. Things are settling down a bit between my ex and me. Um, we're on speaking terms again, and he has some complicated feelings about the pregnancy, about the circumstances of it, because we did not plan this. This was very soon for both of us. He had planned this at a later time, um, but as I told him, I'm 29, and with my medical history, I'm thinking it's a lot better for me to have a baby at 29 than wait until I'm in my 30s. Okay. It's hard. It's still been hard on my body, but I think most of what I'm going through is temporary. I think the hip pain and the knee pain will fade after I've given birth because, you know, my joints don't need to be soft anymore after I've given birth. It might take a little while to recover, but I don't think that it's permanent. And he was afraid that it would be when I told him, he asked me yesterday, how's the pregnancy going? And I told him about the symptoms I've been having. And I think at that point it kind of hit him like kind of what I've been dealing with. Um, and I did admit, I'm salty about the circumstances of the conception, but I love this baby. And we both agree that we're not really that compatible, which it is what it is. Maybe, I think we definitely were at one point, but our lives and our journeys went in different directions. And I told him I really want for us to be friends. So hopefully that will be a possibility. Hopefully that will go well. I'm also sharing with him, the shopping lists and such that I have for the baby, and accounting because he is contributing. He made that decision to contribute, so that we don't have to go through formal child support. So I'm just keeping an accounting for the baby related expenses so that he can see that it's being spent on the child. I'm not the kind of person who, takes the other parent's money and just does, I don't just do what I want with it. I don't even just do whatever with my own money. I mean, there's maybe one or two things that I spent money on for me during this pregnancy, that were unrelated to pregnancy. Um, and everything else is for the baby. And I mean, there are some things like some certain books that I had in childhood that I plan to buy my child. There are certain toys that I'm getting for honestly both of us. Like, I've been wanting a honey slime from Slime Rancher, and I just thought, oh, well, you know what? I could just get it for the baby, and then we could both have it. And when the baby doesn't want to play with it, I can play with it, things like that. But it's for stuff for the baby for the household, you know. The good news is that now I have a lot more time to work on the show and to work on the music and to work on arts and crafts projects. There's a link to my Patreon and my Coffee account, which I just made the other day before I knew I wasn't going to be coming into work anymore. um, that is information is in the description. You can donate or you cannot. I do recommend following me on Coffee anyway, because that's where I'm putting up most of my art projects and stuff, and then possibly like sharing it to Twitter, to Instagram, to Facebook from Coffee. But that is gonna be like my main gallery with my art stuff. So even if you can't donate, that's okay. I'm pretty sure that everybody is kind of in the same boat right now. Um, yeah, except for my boss and the paralegals who are like, well, okay, not the paralegals, just that one paralegal, but she is not struggling. I don't think she remembers what struggling is. So she's not really in a position to comprehend why I'm panicking about my paycheck. Um, but okay. This is kind of the expression I've had on my face all day. So I've just been unhappy about this. But again, I'm in a better position than I could be. You know, like, it sucks, but it's affecting other people more than it affects me. So I guess I should shut up and stop whining about it or whatever. Oh, I got maternity underpants. So far very comfortable. I got the correct size, and I want like three more packs. They come in packs of three, so I love them, and I want to make them my main underpants because my other underpants, they're a little bit on the tight side now. I I think that the bump is actually starting to become more obvious, but I'm personally not really aware of that just by looking at myself, because to me I've always kind of looked fat, and I don't really know if I look rounder, but I do know that I weigh like almost 10 pounds less than I did. Like, I weigh 8 pounds less than I did before I got pregnant, and yet my waistline has expanded. So there's probably is actually a bump there. So that's cool. And I'm hoping that all of this is over by July so that there's no problem with me going to the hospital and getting my baby the surgeries and such. Like, those are medical necessities. It's just I don't know, this whole situation. My dad says he's been through it in other countries, but for me it's new. So it's just a little bit it takes some getting used to, I think. I hope everybody else is doing well. Like, believe me, I fully understand, like, if you have other financial obligations and you can't afford to miss work either, because, you know, being poor is hard. I completely understand that. And like my ex luckily does not live in the Bay Area. He lives in a whole nother part of California, and he said that he's having a hard time because of the weather and the power and stuff. So honestly, I think he's got it worse because he has no power, which means no internet or very little internet. Because I guess he was able to communicate with me through Hangouts, which is better than nothing. So he has some internet. He's just not checking it like all the time, I guess. And he's still able to like go to his friends and cousins and stuff, whereas we kind of aren't allowed to go anywhere. Like, it's not really a law, it's a strongly worded suggestion. And while the police can enforce it and cite people for not obeying it, um I think that mostly it's just a measure to make sure that as few people get sick as possible. And my hope is that, I think my dad thinks differently about this, but my hope is that when the virus, I guess, dies out, when it's not being transmitted anymore, that the restrictions will lift and that this isn't an excuse by the government just to lock everybody up. Um, yeah, I read dystopian novels as a hobby, and while I do like our current governor, and I do feel that he does care about the citizens, I also am very salty about A, not being able to work, B, not being able to apply for benefits, because both the avenues that I would take to apply for benefits are unavailable for the reasons that I mentioned earlier in the video. Um, I mean, I did apply for disability. My doctor sent me the completed disability paperwork, and then I mailed it out today. But if there's no one in the office to receive it, then what am I going to do? And also, cash aid. I need to be able to communicate with somebody about applying for that, because so here's the thing. A quarter of my paycheck, or I'm sorry, a third of my paycheck goes to rent, a third of my paycheck goes to my savings account for my baby, and then the other third is for like household necessities like laundry, gas for my dad to drive us places because he didn't want me taking the bus anymore, and I couldn't make it to the bus stop anyway. Um, groceries, household needs that WIC and food stamps don't cover. Disability pays 2/3 of the paycheck, which means that, I mean, my rent would take 30 days to reduce, okay, because of the law. And that means less money's going into the baby's account. And like I said, yeah, my ex is contributing what he can from what he saved up from work, which I'm very grateful for that. It will help. It will help a lot. Okay. But I don't like my personal income being lowered, because my personal income is not that high. And I'm not about to start asking, I have a friend who would probably be willing to help me out, but I'm not about to start asking for that help unless worst comes to absolute worst. I do not want to do that. We have been friends for years and years, and while she and her husband have helped take care of me, like they've taken care of my transportation costs, they pay for my clipper. I do not like asking for financial favors. Like, I just, mm-mm, mm-mm. I already feel like I'm asking for a lot for, you know, having her help out with the show, even though it's like it's our show, But I told her eventually you're gonna have to take responsibility for the show. You're gonna have to be the executive producer because I'm gonna be, you know, taking care of the baby, not able to really produce much. We'll figure it out as we go, though. Oh gosh, have I been talking for that long? Okay. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me and cheers. I hope that everyone else is doing at least moderately okay. All right.